Hey guys, this will serve as the weekly overview for February 14th. We're coming up about midway through this block as we continue to progress towards Murph, which is coming towards the end of May. Now let's get into the week. On Monday, we are going to start out with a bench press times 3 on the 2.5 minutes for 6 sets. First 2 sets around 80%, and then you can build for 3 sets. We'll have one drop set of 3 to 5 reps at 85-90% of top set. Again, as we're in our strength progressions during this block, we're really just focused on maintaining strength. And maybe for some of you guys that are a little bit newer to strength, then we're going to be building strength, obviously. But we want to have quality sets, quality range of motion. That's what we want to be focusing on in this block currently. After that, we have for time 50 single arm dumbbell shoulder to overhead, 50 toes to bar, 50 dumbbell shoulder to overhead. So it's just a single arm. You can switch that however you want, 10 on one arm, 10 on the other. You're trying to break it up as best you can as far as splitting it up. I did want to go with a straight block of 50 toes to bar, and all that is doing is starting to get us used to having larger sets of gymnastics as if, we were in Murph. So we're looking at this as being able to break that up in a manageable set. The 50 shoulder to overhead should be a weight that you could really do in sets of 10 to 15 pretty easily, or sets of 10 for sure. And then on the toes to bar, you're just going to break those up as needed. Sets of 5 isn't a bad option today. But just working through those. If your hands are beat up, obviously we can do some sort of modified candlestick or even a sit-up today. That's totally fine. But we are going to look at trying to build some muscular endurance by hitting those larger sets. Okay, we have top targets at 7, scale to be sub 11. I think that's too terrible. So it gives you plenty of time to actually get the volume in today. So you can even use the clock, right? You get through the first 50 on a conservative clock of just moving nice and steady. You have the toes to bar. You know that the second set of dumbbell shoulder overhead are going to take you roughly the same amount of time. So just try to give yourself that time on the back end of the toe to bar. We shouldn't see this unless you are able to do these things in large sets and unbroken, which just large sets in general. It isn't going to be much of a hard breather. We're not going to be breathing super hard unless we can do those big sets. So for everybody else, just focus on the range of motion. You're just working on pushing those sets to where, they're tough, but they're not to failure. So you can repeat them over time and work through those as needed. All right, on Tuesday, we are going to be going 2 deadlifts, basically at the top of the 75 seconds, and then rest 10 to 15 seconds, right into 3 tall box jumps. And again, I don't really care how tall the box actually is. Tall just means we're standing tall, we're jumping and landing tall. And, you could jump on a smaller box, but just focus on jumping up and landing in a tall position. If you're jumping and landing in a squat position, we're probably not jumping as hard as we could. And we really want to work on the explosiveness and jumping up really high and just landing high as well. Now, we can do conventional, that narrow sumo deadlift or a sumo deadlift, whatever deadlift is comfortable for you that makes you feel like your back feels good, you're engaging your posterior chain, and you can stay and maintain a good position. And that 60 to 70% of 1 rep max, pretty wide range there, but really we should see that the bar is moving very well off the floor. Get the slack out of the bar, drive the legs, pull really hard. You could drop it from the top, don't have to worry about the eccentric. Set up again, do it again, and then just take a little rest before hitting those tall box jumps. Okay, so we have, for 12 rounds, I think that's 8 sets. I'll look at that specifically, but it's a good amount of volume today. Just, focus on having it done and doing well as far as moving the barbell well and then jumping and landing tall. After that, we do have another, relatively tough Metcon as far as it comes to muscular endurance. We have a 10-minute AMRAP, 25 double unders, and 15 kettlebell swings. Now, I kind of wrote this based off of the Open 14.1 for those of you guys that have been around that long, which was the power snatches and the dubs. I dropped the dubs a little bit and, for that and increase the swings. So we could be looking at as many as 10 rounds. It seems like a lot. Make sure that we're moving really well. I would look at completing the dubs and then just make sure we're setting up. If we're going with that American swing or that overhead swing, which would be what we considered an RX position, is that we're locked out overhead. We have control of the kettlebell. We're not letting it flop back. If nothing else, point it slightly forward so you don't lose control of it. And then back down and just try to breathe and move and try to hang on to that thing and start building your grip endurance. Okay. Now we can also just do these to eye level as a Russian swing is totally fine. Again, it's really about you just moving really consistently and trying to hang on for larger sets and really kind of challenging the grip today. That's what we're trying to build as, again, one of the main focal pieces that will be, chesting us in Murph later in the block is that grip intensity or that grip endurance. All right, on Wednesday, for time for performance and an AMRAP for fitness. And the reason for that is that this could get really long, and we really want to focus on just getting quality volume in. So for fitness, it's going to be that 200-meter run, 15 air squats, and 10 push-ups. For performance, we're going to actually start kind of increasing the distance and kind of get a little better feel for this. So we have an 800-meter run buy-in, 800-meter run buy-out. It's 125 push-ups and 200 air squats. Now looking at that, you're like, hey, that seems like a lot. But you can partition it. So it could be done in sets of, let's call it, 5 rounds of 25-40. If you plan on partitioning even more, you could even do, whatever that ends up being, like sets of 15 and 10 or 20, and then just working through it. As we look at, like, if we or for our RX option, especially if you plan on doing Murph unpartitioned, then don't partition it today. Start getting used to these larger pieces, like where you're going to have to run in and just hit all of those. It's just to get a feel for it. So look at that two different ways, guys. Remember, with the push-ups, our chest should be touching the ground every single time. We're not shorting that. So chest to the deck every single time, and partition as needed. Now, if we look at this too, if we're like, hey, I do want to do the 800s, but that's a lot of volume, well, then just drop it down. We could do 100 or 80, right? We could do 150. And just pick a rep range that's more than what you've done before, especially with the push-up, and challenge yourself to larger sets. So it doesn't have to be as written. This is just as we're progressing. If you've been hitting all the classes as prescribed, this is a general or just a natural progression in volume when it comes to the push-up and the air squat. So again, if you have trouble with push-ups, maybe you're lowering that number a little bit for total volume. Sorry, I'm about to sneeze again. Seems like it's every time I'm doing these videos. But, we can keep the air squat volume up if we have it, and then just, kind of focus on just breaking it up as needed, especially if you've never done Murph. Just partition this, no problem. But you can break it up however you want. You don't have to even do even rounds. You can just start out, but hey, I'm going to knock out 25 push-ups, write that down. I'm going to knock out 50 air squats, write that down. I'm going to do 10 push-ups the next time, or whatever it is. You just get through it however you can, and then you're going back to that run. All right, on Thursday, we are going to be doing a little bit different conditioning today. So we have a 500-meter run, a 100-foot sled push into a max distance row again. I'm sorry, it's a 500-meter row, and then a max distance row again in the remaining time. So we're just on the rower there. We're rowing, sled push, row, and then we rest 2 minutes. And then we have same thing, 6 minutes on the clock. And 6 minutes on the clock for both of these. Should have said that. And same thing with the ski. So ski 500, 200-foot farmer's carry, ski again in the remaining time just for distance, rest 2 minutes, and then we go through that whole thing again. Doesn't matter which one you start on based on equipment. If you are someone who's trying to get better at running, or you feel like you haven't ran enough this week, or maybe you missed yesterday, then you also could do these as 400-meter runs, and then a 400-meter run that, and just look at the clock. Maybe you're running 200 or 400 on the back end. It's totally fine to just do more running volume if that's what you're working on getting into. Oh, I also should say, look to get the same distance each time would be a good way to look at this, or a little bit further in the second round. All right, we're going to start out with some, actually this whole day really is just strength work. We've had a lot of conditioning all week. We want to focus, and we're going to have conditioning on Saturday. So we want to really focus on just, getting back to some skilled barbell work. We have a clean deadlift plus low hang clean, which means that we're going down below the knee, and then a front squat. So it's 1 clean deadlift, 1 low hang clean, and then 2 front squats. Now, if we can squat clean, that's obviously what we're doing. If we have to power, that's fine too for this low hang clean. With the clean deadlift, we really should be learning how to stand quickly above the knee and keeping that bar close to getting to where we're basically just staying over the bar. And it just helps you learn to stay over the bar, keep the lats engaged, to push over the bar as you stand, so the bar isn't staying out. You're keeping it close to your body. You're getting up to it. You don't even stand all the way up. You really just push, stay over the bar, bring it back to the low hang, and then try to remember what you did on that clean deadlift for your hang clean. It's just for your low hang clean. So that's literally what it is, a positional move to start out the set. and then you try to ingrain that for the first rep on that low or that clean deadlift. Remember it, do the same thing in the low hang clean, and then bam, we're on to the front squats, 2 front squats, okay? Moderate load, technical load, we could work up to 70 to 75% max. You could stay at that percentage. If you're feeling good, you can go up. But really just remember, it's kind of like a technical day. It should be tough, but technical. You have 10 sets, so, you can always start out light and then slowly build. After that, accessory work, we've got 8 to 12 double kettlebell front squats or just a nice heavy goblet squat. -1 on the strict pull-up, so just doing, close to failure on the strict pull-up. I think today, if you want to do banded, that's fine, but, banded chest to bar is usually what we try to push to, or even doing negatives, like working on just keeping your chin over the bar. Just find a way to make the upper body pulling tough today. And then we have 20 banded pull-throughs, 20-plus banded pull-throughs. So, on that, it's like, you want to move to a set of 20 or even set of 30. It's just whatever it is for you. You just want to keep it moving. Focus on a clean lockout, a big stretch, nice aggressive hip extension, and then just getting to where you're not overextending at the top, engaging the glutes and the hamstrings, and just locking it in at the top. All right, on Saturday, we are going to be doing Jerry, which we haven't done in a while. We've done it as a team, which is what you can do today if you're feeling a little beat up. Basically, you could split up these in basically everybody runs 2 400s, everybody runs 2 400s, everybody rows, 2 500s. That's fine. You can totally do that today. But if you're feeling good and you want to start getting into that running volume, as we've talked about, as we're getting ready for Murph, is like being able to hit that mile run, do something, and do something else. I didn't even write times on this. I'm just really curious what everybody gets, so make sure we're logging today. But Jerry is going to be the workout of the day. If I'm looking at how I really pace this is I would probably run this first mile at like 85%, and then I'm going to do whatever I can to move at a very consistent clip on the 2K row. And then, bam, we're back on this, roughly at the, let's call it the 15 to 18-minute mark, 17-minute mark, and then it's like, hey, let's hammer this last run. Okay, it'll be a good time. You guys get used to the running track or the running course from Murph, and we'll get going. As always, guys, if you have questions, let us know. If you ever have anything, you have any issues training or anything training related, program related that you have questions on, let me know. Love to talk to you guys about it. If you want to reach out, it's Brandon@MakoCrossFit.com, or you can direct message me on Instagram or whatever. And if not, we'll see you in the gym.